The final stage of a man's ascent is not a plateau of comfort, but a crucible of war. It begins not with a bang, but a slow, insidious seep into the soul. The 30th year arrives not as a coronation, but as a reckoning. For too long, the narrative has been that youth is a struggle and maturity is ease. This is a dangerous falsehood. The true war for a man's soul begins precisely at the age when society expects him to have arrived. A man in his 30s stands at a precipice. The boundless energy of youth has tempered, the naive illusions have shattered, and the stark realities of life's consequences begin to assert their gravity. It is here that the foundations laid in earlier years are tested. The temptations shift. No longer is it the allure of fleeting pleasure, but the insidious comfort of stagnation, the sweet poison of compromise, the hollow promise of good enough. This is the inner war, the constant, quiet battle between the man he is and the man he could be. It is a conflict waged not on a battlefield of nations, but within the confines of his own mind and spirit. The enemy is not an external foe, but the erosion of discipline, the surrender to apathy, the quiet acceptance of mediocrity. It is the voice that whispers, "Why bother? You've done enough." Yeah, well, consider the soldier who has survived the initial fury of battle. His war is not over. The most dangerous phase is often the prolonged siege, the attrition, the mental fatigue that sets in when the adrenaline fades. He must guard against complacency, against the desire to lower his defenses, against the belief that the worst is behind him. He must remain vigilant. A man at 30 has a choice. He can let the subtle erosion of his resolve turn him into a shadow of his potential, a ghost haunted by what-ifs of a life unlived. Or he can recognize this period for what it is, a critical junction demanding a higher level of self-awareness and a fiercer commitment to his own growth. This is not about chasing youthful ambition, but about solidifying character, about building resilience against the inevitable storms. The Stoics understood this internal struggle intimately. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself and his readers of the need for inner discipline. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is the essence of the war after 30. The time for contemplation of ideals is passing. The time for unwavering action based on those ideals is paramount. What is the cost of surrender in this war? It is the gradual dimming of a man's light, the quiet desperation that festers behind polite smiles, the regret that becomes a lifelong companion. It is the slow decay of purpose, the acceptance of a life lived in monochrome when it could have been a vibrant tapestry. This war demands awareness. It requires a man to look inward, unflinchingly, and confront the parts of himself that have grown soft, the habits that have become chains, the beliefs that have become excuses. It is a call to arms against the subtle forces of entropy that seek to unravel his will. Think of the ancient craftsman, meticulously shaping stone or metal. His focus is absolute. Each strike, each precise movement is deliberate. He does not get discouraged by imperfections. He works through them, refining his creation with unwavering patience and skill. This is the mindset required. The enemy within feeds on distraction. In a world saturated with noise and fleeting validation, the call to focus, to engage in the difficult work of self-improvement, becomes a revolutionary act. It means turning off the noise, silencing the external pressures, and listening to the deeper, quieter voice of purpose. The temptation is to seek external validation, to believe that success or respect from others will somehow shore up internal weaknesses. But this is a flawed strategy. True strength is forged in the private battles, in the moments when no one is watching, when a man chooses the harder path, the more disciplined action, simply because it is right. This period of life is often when men face their most significant responsibilities, careers, families, aging parents. The pressure mounts. The energy required to meet these demands is immense. Without a strong inner fortress, these pressures can crush a man, leading to burnout, resentment, or a desperate search for escape. This is not about rejecting life or becoming a stoic hermit. It is about engaging with life from a position of inner strength. It is about understanding that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from mastering one's own internal landscape. A man who controls his thoughts, his desires, his reactions, is a man who can navigate any storm. Consider the ancient kings and emperors who bore the weight of empires. They faced constant treachery, complex decisions, and immense personal sacrifice. Their ability to rule and endure stemmed not from divine right alone, but from rigorous self-discipline and a profound understanding of their own limitations and strengths. They fought their inner battles daily. So, how does a man arm himself for this war? It begins with accepting its existence. It requires cultivating the habit of self-reflection, not as a form of self-pity, but as a strategic assessment. Identify the weak points, the recurring temptations, the excuses that have become mantras. Then, implement discipline. Small, consistent actions. The early morning, the difficult task, the refusal of easy indulgence. Each act of discipline is a reinforcement of the inner fortress. Each choice to resist temptation is a victory. Embrace discomfort. Dine. The growth of a man is inextricably linked to his willingness to step outside his comfort zone. This war is fought on the battleground of discomfort. The gym, the challenging project, the difficult conversation, these are the training grounds. Finally, understand that this war is not a temporary campaign, but a lifelong commitment. The 30th year is not the end of the conflict, but merely the escalation to a more profound level of engagement. Each decade will bring new challenges, new temptations, new fronts to defend. The narrative of a man's 30s as a period of settled ease is a dangerous lie. It is a battlefield where the self is tested, where character is forged or fractured. It is the time when the inner war demands your full attention, your unwavering discipline, your unyielding will. To ignore it is to invite defeat. To engage it is to claim your true strength. This is not a time for complacency, but for combat. The 30th year is not a destination, but a call to arms. It is the moment a man truly understands that the greatest victories are those won within, against the self, for the sake of becoming.